there. I'm Russ. This is Sailing Vessel Tautog. We're still in Fort Pierce, Florida. And the project that we discussed several episodes ago, that is finding a way to get power to the cockpit helm and also to use my chart plotter out there, that project has already started just now with this little device here that I found actually in my box of You Just Never Know. So probably like most boaters, I keep old stuff that I found. It's like in here, besides old tie wraps that I found, I have things like this, old light bulbs and things like that, and I've got two other tubs, you know, plastic tubs full of, I see old cords, I see old fuel hose, I see old terminal blocks, etc., etc. And excuse me for that. And when I found this thing here, I got thinking of what I'm going to do. What I am going to do is use this. This is a USB connector, a charger, and if it works, then this will easily mount to almost any junction box that I could find and mount out there in the helm. This is probably obvious to a lot of the viewers, but it seems like it'd be pretty slow to me, pretty slow coming to me, that I can separate the two issues. So how I physically mount the tablet is secondary in importance to how am I going to get power to it. And now I know, if this works, how I'm going to get power to charge my tablet and any other device. Oh, excuse me, just woke up from a nap. Still getting over from driving lag at the plant. So now we just have to validate that this works, and I'm finally getting more motivated to get moving. And to that end, I'll credit my friends Monica and Darren. They are out there on their boat, and we had a really lovely chat the other day about you know, not having to seek perfection and not necessarily having to follow a prescribed plan that is approved, you know, by the experts in the boating and sailing community, and just to kind of learn to go with the flow. So one of the goes with the flow for me is, you know, is just finish this job and then get out of here. I think I'm ready to get moving again, and I'm tired of waiting. Alrighty, so the situation is one of these two lights, I forget which one, doesn't work. Second, right in this location, I want to install that junction box, and on the face of that junction box is going to be a USB charger. That's the basic plan. In the meantime, the rest of that space in the junction box is going to be the place where all these wires are properly organized and properly terminated. Is a little bit of a tangled nest of wires, and I own part of that because it's all part of one of my first temporary repairs, because I needed, early on I realized I didn't have a red light on the compass, and I also, these were pre-installed by the previous owner. I feel pretty good because, hey, this beer is pretty damn good. That tastes good. Nice dark color. But I feel good because I'm finally moving on this project, you know, and I've been kind of stung and stunned by indecision about what I was going to do, but now I know what I'm going to do below. Then the only thing I still need to do is figure out what to do with this shelf. Somehow I'm going to build a thing to physically hold a tablet, and ideally have a cup holder somehow, because there's no cup holders in the cockpit. Not going to go too far today. It's already quitting time, so I'm going to just relax and heat up my food and take a shower and call it a night. But I'll get started on this tomorrow. So a lot of people ask, why red lights? You know, wouldn't a white light be brighter and provide more light? Well, absolutely. A white light would provide more lighting and maybe make you more safe, but what a lot of people don't think of is that at nighttime you need your night vision, and if you have your night vision kind of set up, and it takes about 30 minutes for your eyes to adjust, and then you flick on a white light, that can completely ruin your night vision, and it'll keep it ruined for about 30 minutes until you recover. So in general, the theory is that you use a red light. You can see it here. I've got red lights here in the cabin. And I've got one in the bathroom. Don't know if you can see this because I'm not. There's one down here in the bathroom somewhere. These bottom two are spares, and the bottommost of the bottom two is this one, and that looks like a lovely place because I can control it with a breaker that way. That's because I put the spares in for a reason, and one of the reasons is I can use it to make temporary connections very, very easily. Okay, so I have my phone plugged into the item I'm testing here, this, and I have these two wires on my test wire ready to energize, and all I'm going to do is touch them like this. It's only 12 volt stuff, so no risk of personal damage. And I think while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and plug in my chart plotter tablet, and both of these should come to life when they get plugged into the battery to a charging source. And I think that'll be a pretty good test. Tell me if this device works, because if this works, then I think I can move forward. So now, breaker on. Listen for sparking sounds, and there are none. And I'm going to just connect black to black. So what does that tell you? And the tablet came on as well. So there we go. So I have a functioning USB charger, guys. End of test. Power off. Okay. Hot. Case. Well, this is the thickness of the fiberglass of this structure, and I'll just point out that that is for a non-structural device. It's just for the helm station, but it is thicker than the hull of almost all new boats that are made nowadays. Think about that when you buy a boat, huh? Eustian up in Scotland used to tell me to buy the oldest fiberglass boat I could find. Okay, so what I do, and this is one of the reasons I got lazy and decided not to go out to Anchorage, because I wanted the ability to use internet. And I've got Wi-Fi, and on my computer now is a page from a generic manufacturer of tiller pilots, which is Simrad. That's the company I had bought before. And they tell me that I need to put in 14 gauge wire to run their Simrad. So that's kind of the thing. So I'm looking at, on my floor, I've got some 10 gauge stuff. I've got some, how big is this? This is 12 gauge stuff, and this is 14 gauge. And you think the higher number means it's bigger, but the opposite is true. So 14 gauge is smaller than 12 gauge, which is smaller than 10 gauge. So I should not need 10 or 12. And I have a lot of, I think this is 100 foot of 14 gauge left over. Well, 97 foot. So that's what I'm going to go with. How in the hell did I ever do this before? think I need to. Ow! God! Oh, God! Ah! Shit! Oh! Curses be you! It probably doesn't help that I've been drinking, but it probably doesn't hurt that much either. Okay, so we got it. This is a new wire. I just ran. It's got some, I left about 1.5 feet sticking out. That should be plenty for me to do whatever I want to do with. Now I'm going to go tug back the excess back to the electric panel and close up this little mess of mine. So, what has power here in the cockpit? Well, what's going to have power is the 16 gauge line for LED lighting, which is in the cockpit, or correction, to the compass, and also it's going to go to a red light that's right there. 14 gauge wire. That's going to go to miscellaneous cockpit loads, and at the moment there's only one miscellaneous load. It's that junction box, which is going to go over top, and it'll provide the USB charge port that I can use to charge my tablet or phones, of course. And one day, if I wanted to buy an auto tiller, I would run another cable from here back down, all the way under, up there somewhere, and it would be a source of power for an auto tiller. And I have the cable sized big enough to manage that. So, on the inside, it looks like I haven't even cut the wire yet, and I haven't. So the basic plan is you mount the wire physically now. So I've got to do some epoxy work to patch up those holes and make it ready for painting. I'm not going to worry about the throttle, which clearly needs to be replaced at some point. But I have slop in the line, so I need to tug this back, secure the cable so it doesn't snag anything. And once I get that back, that'll, any excess will go forward back to the spool, and then I can make a cut in the right spot. And I'm trying to get that far today. That should be no problem. I think first I'll deal with the wire, get it secured in here, then I can load all this junk back in the locker. Okay, so this is what we got. I got the junction box physically installed. I got the new light physically installed on the back side. All I really did was clean off the junk and strip it and varnish it and cover up the holes with some scrap pieces of teak, because you just never know what you might want to install one day. But the button is the one I bought in Mexico, and after I reinstalled it all, I test ran the engine to make sure the ignition circuit works. So all that's left to do now is to strip the outer jacket of this cable back to about the same as I did here, and I'll trim that back and then make up my connections and be done with this. Should be done in 20-30 minutes. Center. To kind of get it started, you just pull this outer jacket off. It should come off and rip right at the cut mark. Right about here is where I cut it. There we go. So, voila. Okay, now, if I can manage to get a couple of screws in this. The only problem I've had is that the junction box came with its own screws, and they are of course not stainless, and you really don't want carbon steel in this kind of application. And I don't have a hell of a lot of really small stainless steel screws. And I will point out that I have never bought new stainless steel fasteners for this job. I mean, for the entire sailboat. My life, for all of my time with this boat, I've never bought screws. I've always used existing screws from the boat that I've taken off of other parts of the boat. The theory being that if you want good quality stainless steel, you don't want to get new stuff. That doesn't look right. Okay, I think we're there. Let's see if this works. Okay, so here's the final test. We're looking at the phone, which is plugged into the USB, but the breaker is closed, the correction is open at the panel. So I'm going to go inside, shut the breaker, which should energize this charger, which should charge my phone, which should wake up my phone. That'll be my test. Stand by. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So the phone is currently charging. That's just what we want to accomplish. And that project had 0 cost. Okay, so I'm happy to have that portion of the project complete. I also painted the outside of the helm station, and that needs another coat. And I apologize for the bright red thing. I'm not sure what you think of that, but that's not important. That's not important though. This little mini project did not cost me 1 penny. Everything I used was existing equipment that I had on board. Now the junction box I did buy when I was way down there in Marathon. When I was down there in Marathon last year, I think that's when I bought these junction boxes, or maybe it was when I was in St. Petersburg. But either way, I've had that kind of in stock now on board for quite some time. And same with all my electrical hoo-has. And even the USB charger I found in my box that I call, you just never know. I've got 4 such boxes, and you just never know. You don't throw stuff away that might work, and that's what I did. Well, thank you for watching. It does feel good to be getting some tangible projects done on the boat, and I'm excited to get some more going. In fact, I've got a few hours before I have to leave for Georgia and go back and work another work week. And I'll get some work done on that project in the helm station before I go. Other things I do while I'm here is, you know, like all of us, you've got administration to tend to, and I had an income tax issue in which the U.S. IRS has owed me $3,000 now for 5 years, and I finally got on the line to them and got that resolved, and the money's in my account. So big thumbs up for that. Let's see here, and I go up to the beach almost every single day. I'll be out on the beach in the morning, and one day, as you can see here, I saw some turtle tracks, which I thought was kind of cool. Usually the turtles come up at night, and you'll see them waddle up, and they'll dig holes and they'll plant their eggs, and then they head back. So that looks like what happened, but I don't see the mound of sand. So I don't know if that's exactly what I'm looking at, but either way, I'm going to close this video out now. And I hope you all take care, okay? I'll include some other footage at the very end, just miscellaneous stuff. So take care, guys. We'll see you next time. And we would never start the project without checking out a new beer. That looks good. That is just the color I like. I bought that glass for 50 cents. Dive her down, that's the beer. That drawbridge out there is now going down. That's the intercoastal waterway headed north. Again, there's a sailboat over there to the left of that green marker. That's as far as I can zoom with my phone. They're aground. And this guy here is aground. Not a pretty picture. Nobody wants to see any boat looking like this. But it doesn't look like a boat that has been abandoned. You know, it doesn't look like a piece of junk covered in mildew and stuff. The head sail looks to be in good shape, and she looks okay. And yet, she sits. This is certainly day 2, and probably it's been here for a week, because those storms were about 10 days ago when they passed through. I don't know what the situation is. I love that boarding ladder. I could sure use that on my boat, you know. I'm the sort of guy, I think you guys all know, to go, picking off somebody else's boat, basically picking it clean like the looters would do. But it does have a whisker pole, it has a boarding ladder, it has fenders, it has the jerry cans, which are easily obtainable. And I'm sure one of these days somebody's going to come out at night and just cut through the fabric on the cockpit and just go inside and clean away anything made, any of the electronics, that kind of stuff. So just life and times in the Fort Pierce Inlet.